Hi everyone, this is Lee Morrison. Just making this brief clip for my good friend Bob Spiegel to put on his page for the Facebook page for Charlie Nelson. As you know, Bob is releasing an anniversary edition to celebrate that would be the 100th birthday of Charlie Nelson. So he is bringing out a great program, which I suggest you jump on. I can't wait to get my copy. Just wanted to make a couple of points. I made a video recently through Paladin Press and Primal Combatants, and in it they put a clip on YouTube which showed the Charles Nelson swivel punch. And my introduction was rather hurried and quite vague, so I didn't want to mislead anyone into how I actually learned the Nelson system and what my influence was. So I just want to clear up a few points for the benefit of the Charles Nelson Facebook page readers or anyone else who's interested. My association with the kind of World War II orientated combatives was in the mid-90s. I trained with a guy called Pete Robbins, and then I was fortunate enough to discover all the other pivotal figures such as O'Neill, Fairbairn and all the rest of it through the history of it, and till I came to Charles Nelson. When I realised that Charles Nelson was one of the last living links to the World War II combatives, I wanted to research his material. What interested me is that he taught in New York for 50 years, and taught a lot of great people, and eventually got to one of my instructors who taught me in the Nelson system, Bob Spiegel. Bob Spiegel, from a karate background and also a full contact fighting background. Tough guy, good sharp mind for understanding what works and what doesn't in terms of self-defense. He was the fortunate enough person to have trained with Charlie and carried on his method. So the Charles Nelson system is Bob Spiegel, and through him Charlie Nelson still lives. So my experience of training with the Nelson system, of course, came from Mr. Bob Spiegel. I travelled to New York in 2002 and then made several trips there back again, one in which we both went together to Arkansas, to Little Rock, to meet the great man Charlie Nelson himself. Of course, when I started in 2002, Charlie was already 87 years old, had long retired from teaching. So in my clip, I kind of said when I trained with Charlie, I really meant when I trained in the Nelson system. I wrote 2 clear articles that are on my website to this day that specified exactly how I'd learned, what I'd learned from Bob, all the photos, and how it was great. I did, however, make a point in the clip that was shown recently on YouTube that I was fortunate enough to have had the last ever lesson with Charlie, and I feel that is so today. My journey to Little Rock, when Bob kindly took me to meet Carol, Charlie's lovely daughter, and his husband Buddy, who's a great guy. We went to visit Charlie at his home, where he obviously was now in a wheelchair, quite, a lot people looking after him and taking care of him because that's what he needed, but very still sharp in the mind. And I sat for a couple of hours with Charlie and asked him lots of things, and he talked to me and he told me lots of good things. And there's one picture which I treasure, it's up in my gym, which is where he's actually showed me the physical application of an armbar whilst he sat in his wheelchair, which to be honest really stunned me because all of a sudden he had me in this kind of position. So I like to think that that time I spent with Charlie was a lesson, because there was many lessons learned. So when I say I had the last ever lesson with Charlie, that was it. And that was my experience of training with the great man. How I actually learned the Nelson system was, of course, through Robert Spiegel, and that's all very clear and on my website. But if I misled somebody with how I spoke about having learned the Nelson system, then I apologise. Basically, I was making a video. They asked me for a low-profile portion, and one of the skills they wanted to see was the application of possibly a body shot, and I immediately thought a swivel punch. It wasn't in script, it wasn't rehearsed, and I literally just said what I said without thought. But I didn't want to make people misread what I said, because after watching it myself, I realised how I said things. Obviously, Charlie wasn't teaching since the 80s. And all the time that Bob was fortunate enough to train with him, possibly through the 80s, through the 1980s until he retired, which I don't even know when he did, possibly in the 90s. The last person to have really had the best time with Charlie was, of course, Bob. And my only opportunity to learn the system was through Bob, which was great because he's just like a younger version of Charlie. But I wanted to just clear up those points. Also, I want to kind of reassociate or reconnect if I can, because you know you lose paths. I would like to do anything I can to promote the Charles Nelson system and keep his name alive. I really do recommend that you search out Mr. Spiegel for seminars so he can help spread the word about Charlie's great teachings. And I also recommend that you look at Bob's interpretations of them, because he's teaching it very efficiently. In respect to the great man, I would appreciate as many people as possible if they could invest in this anniversary edition DVD box set that Bob has kindly made, which gives a good idea of the entire method that was left to Bob, as well as replica lessons that Charlie taught himself through Bob. So it's just like training with the same person. So if you could dig deep in your pocket and look to helping out cause, that would be great. So I just wanted to clear up once again, my training for the Nelson system of course came through Mr. Spiegel. I met Bob once, I met Charlie once, and was fortunate enough to spend some time with him, which I'll till the end of my days consider a worthy lesson. So just hope that clears up anything. If anyone has any questions, then please contact me. Also, I'd like to just say that at some point, hopefully me and Bob can get together and do something across the US with the Nelson system, maybe with a little bit of UC influence also. But other than that, all be safe, take care.